Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Today, the entertainment section. We've got Joe Exotic is becoming the next U.S. president. Yes, you heard me right. How $3 worth of cheese ended a date? Yes, I'm not sure on that one. We will get further into it. And what absurd amount of money did Kyle Sandilands spend on a certain part of his wedding? We're covering that all on the entertainment section, starting now. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in to start off podcast. We got welcome Mason Cox.
G'day, Mace. How's it been?
Oh, it's been good. Always a positive when you get a W over the weekend.
Hey, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about entertainment. We're here to entertain the people. Ooh. And I do have a little surprise for you because, you know, we splashed out. We spent a bit of budget and I've knocked together a bit of an opener for the water cooler chat.
Yes. Oh, we spent a lot of audio by just recording my voice doing a water cooler sound.
That cost a lot of money.
You wouldn't believe it.
Cash money.
Oh, we got that too. Yes. We're going up in the world, the podcast world. We're hitting it hard.
We're not going to make a cent this year because that's all the budget went towards those sound effects.
That's all the money we've made because we've got zero sponsors. But no, I'm kidding. They are jumped in. We're happy for that. iHeartRadio, thank you so much. But we will get straight into it, the water cooler chat, because as I said off the top, Joe Exotic is going to become the next U.S. president, Braden. Yes, you've heard me right. The man that is currently in jail is going to somehow raise his hand for presidency, and I think he's got a red hot shot at this.
I was going to say, he's still in jail, right?
He is. He's doing 21 years in prison for trying to hire a hitman for Carol Baskins. Carol Baskins. Oh, man. The man is obviously known during the COVID times. We all just had a bit of time, just to hang out at the house, and Netflix stock went through the roof because we had nothing better to do with our lives. And miraculously, Tiger King reinvented the life of COVID for that moment in time. And Joe Exotic, obviously, he was the Tiger King, and he became the man we all became obsessed with. And he's in federal prison at the moment for animal abuse and attempted murder. Disgraced former zookeeper has told fans he isn't joking about his presidential bid. He's serious, but I didn't realize this. His actual name's Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage.
Oh, yeah, rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue. It's beautiful, beautiful. But yeah, he's in federal prison, but he's putting his hand up. He's putting his hand up. He's going to be president of the United States. Not Kanye, not Kim Kardashian. I don't know who else has put their hand up. Maybe Trump. I don't know. Maybe Trump, he's putting his hand up too. But I think Joe Exotic, number one on the ballot this year.
You might actually be running from prison with Donald Trump. I don't know how many, there's hundreds of millions of people in the United States of America. How do you pick about 4 criminals to run for president every year?
It's a real sign of the times, as they say in America. It is a grand old place to not be living at the moment.
There's got to be more people out there. There's like, all of America. You can only pick from, the decrepit old man with Alzheimer's, you tanned up old fucking, like, walking.
Leathery, just Cheeto of a human.
The guy that abuses tigers and is currently in prison, like, come on, there's got to be some more options.
Exotic person out there than Joe Exotic. I'm not really 100% sure, but I did learn this the other day. I was doing a bit of research on this, and I did learn that Carol Baskins apparently has found Don Lewis. Says Don Lewis, her husband, who we all thought, miraculously disappeared, and Joe Exotic made that very clear that he thought Carol Baskins killed her husband. Well, apparently she thinks he's alive and well in Costa Rica.
Well, yeah, I don't know. They're all freak shows. I was actually just thinking, how is Joe Exotic? Like, what makes him exotic? He's just a mullet sporting freak from...
I think it's the tiger print pants. I think that's what gets him over the line. And the fact that I'm pretty sure he had put his face on a condom for his running for mayor of Oklahoma, I think at some point. The man just had no boundaries. No boundaries as far as what he was willing to do for attention.
His political career is still bubbling away though.
Hey, you never know. This is one thing we've learned from America. Don't ever doubt their capabilities. They're great for a headline. Speaking of one American to another one that a lot of people probably think is American, but it's actually Canadian. Ryan Reynolds has made some, press the button.
Cash money.
Let's go. He's actually sold his phone company Mint to T-Mobile, one of the biggest phone carriers. They're like the Telstra of America. He sold his company Mint to him for an absolute fortune. This man is about to make bank.
How much are we talking?
We're talking $1.35 billion worth. Decent amount.
Not bad.
Not bad. He's got it a little bit. He keeps in shares, a little bit gets paid out. But this man's been all over. He's done Wrexham FC. He's done that whole Disney thing. Awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Essentially takes over one of the soccer teams in Europe and just has a good time with it and reinvents them. It's insane. Awesome. Great show. It's like Ted Lasso, but in real life.
I think once you build your profile big enough, you can really just attach your name to anything and the stocks are going to go up.
Just do whatever you want. Like we see it all the time. Like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, well, we've got Logan Paul just did what's his drink? Prime. So and that's definitely from what it became the number one sports drink of the UFC, and a UFC sports dietitian came out and said, if you're an athlete for the UFC and you're cutting weight and need hydration, don't drink Prime. It's one of the worst drinks you can drink for hydration and a professional level. It's actually quite dangerous. So it just shows that it's more of a marketing gimmick and all of that, just associated to that. But what they do is they put their name on it, make as much noise as they can to disrupt the market. And then a big company like Coca-Cola or whatever will just swoop in and say, look, we'll just give you $1 billion to go away.
Yeah. Well, $1 billion just to bury this thing.
Yeah. And it happens all the time. But I think the biggest issue with it in most cases, not saying the lovely Ryan Reynolds is doing this.
He's one of the great people of the world. He can't do anything wrong.
I could be wrong, but I don't think Mint Mobile is its own telco company. It's doing what essentially a lot of companies do here and is using Telstra as the actual service provider, and they just attach themselves to that and portion out how much you need to pay and how much your bills are and stuff like that. So I think that's the problem with this stuff is these big names will associate with these brands, but the quality of the brand isn't always amazing, and that kind of screws over their fan base. They're just leveraging and abusing their fan base.
I'll be honest though, Braden, it's $15 a month for Mint Mobile. If you're thinking you're getting some good usage at a $15 a month on a mobile plan, rethink your mobile plan. I don't think you're going to get anything decent out of that. It's going to be a basic flip phone with maybe some 100 texts back in the day, and then 5 phone calls. That's about it.
And I think that's probably the difference between him and Logan Paul, because it's probably $15, $20 for a bottle of Prime.
Yeah. Oh, well, they just released in Australia, and I'm assuming they're probably doing pretty well. But yeah, hey, big ups to Ryan Reynolds. Hell of a payout he's about to get. And I'm excited because if he puts some of that money towards Wrexham FC, they might be making the Premier League soon, and that would be a heck of a story to see. But we'll move on to the next one. This is a bit of a passionate one for me. School shootings in America. Yes! We've talked about it plenty of times. It is always a subject here in Australia. And you best believe schools in America are now implementing bulletproof rooms to protect their children against school shooters.
Just to make it, you're anti-school shooting.
Anti-school shooting. I think that's pretty obvious. It's pretty phenomenal we're getting to this point that we need to make rooms inside of rooms to protect ourselves from school shooters rather than actually just making harder laws against guns.
They could have easily have solved this whole thing, as we know, by giving teachers guns and just having them be Rambo and just shooting up the joint. So what's the reasoning behind, why did they do this path?
Well, they realize there's no way of stopping them because government won't stop them from being able to access guns. So they said, what's the next best thing? Let's try to find a way to protect ourselves from this. So you think about it, they're in the corner of a room. This lady pulls out this handle. The handle becomes a room inside a room that's a bulletproof room. You hide the kids, hide the teachers in there. And then the shooter that comes into the room sees that, goes, can't be fucked, moves on to the next place. Hopefully the next place has one too. And then it just goes from there.
I don't know. This doesn't seem great.
Well, it's wild to me because this week I had some people from the University of Virginia come into the club and had a bit of a chat to them about the career and everything else. And they were MBA students, great, amazing people. And I remember at some point we were walking around and I think I dropped a binder or something on the floor and it made a big bang, and then kind of turned around and everyone was like, oh my gosh, oh no. And I was like, that was a bit weird the way they reacted. And I was like, oh, that's because when they hear a big bang, the first thing they think of is a gun being shot. And it just kind of hit me. I was like, you know what? The fact that this is subconsciously happening in everyone's minds in America right now is just crazy to me. And then I come to Australia and people just ask me these questions of why guns are always legal there and everything else. And then I come to the realization, whenever you have someone from America there, you're like, oh yeah, this is absurd. Absolutely absurd that this is a stress and anxiety on people's brains every single day.
It's just another thing you also have to learn at school is get to the bulletproof room to survive another day in class.
We used to have Dr. Downing talking on the podcast. Dr. Downing said on the podcast or said over the intercom that essentially meant you had to go hide in the corner of your room away from the window where the shooter wouldn't be able to see you. And that was a legit thing we practiced as much as a tornado drill. Was a Dr. Downing shooting in the building.
I'm glad it's not a problem we have to go through.
Yes, very fortunate to be in Australia where guns are not legal and we have a healthcare system. Big audio upgrades this week. Huge audio upgrades by Braden. He's pulling his weight here, but we will go into his next segment, which is one of everyone's favorites. We've got the weird news stories of the week. What do you have for us, Braden?
An interesting one off the top, and I'm sure we've both been in this situation plenty of times.
Oh no.
Not together. Couple had such wild sex at a hotel that they ended up in court with a large fine.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if you could put two and two together there, but a couple's been fined $900 each after they had such wild sex, they kept guests at the hotel awake.
That's just...
Good on them. off the top, good on them.
Good Lord.
But they became so randy, police were called in the early hours of the morning. They were given a key. So the police let themselves into the room, which is, right.
Imagine knowing what's happening, having to walk into that.
Brave. But they weren't in bed. They were in the bathroom. And that's where the noises were coming from. So the police had to kick the door open into the bathroom. Now, they didn't really know what was going on because they had a bit to drink. They were a bit inebriated.
Yeah, could say.
And they were just cutting sick on each other in there. So the police got them, arrested them, charged them. They got $1,800 fine and damages, which included the door, and $450 worth of refunds that they had to give guests because they complained because they couldn't sleep all night because of the wild sex that they were having.
This isn't in 3 other rooms. Now, that makes me wonder because there's only 2 other rooms either side. What's the 3rd room?
Yeah, maybe it was so loud that it affected someone 2 rooms away.
Maybe across the hall. Or 2 rooms away. Mate, I've had some issues with this in the past, right?
What do you mean?
Jeez, not in that sense. You're thinking right away, this was you.
What? No, it's not me.
No, this wasn't us. This wasn't us together. I've been to hotels whenever we go travel as a team, right? And for some reason, I guess people think like a hotel, it's a place to have lovemaking, right? It's away from home, away from the kids, away from the family, just you two, and someone's cleaning up the mess once you're done. And that's what I feel like people might think, right? And I've been in like travel situations where we're traveling for a game. I'm trying to get some sleep. It's like 9:00 in the afternoon. Whoever's the next door neighbor decides to come back. They've had a few drinks. And let's just say for the next little bit, I didn't sleep a wink. That has happened multiple times. I'm sure this has happened to other people that have stayed at hotels. Surely you've heard other people doing the deed next door.
Oh, no. So you got to stay away for like 1 or 2 minutes.
I did have one. I'll tell this story. Actually, this is random, but I did have one police encounter in college. Very brief story, but we have a few drinks on a Saturday night, right? It's maybe like 10 p.m. You know, we're all just hanging out. A few couches, everyone's just hanging, chilling. And,
a little bit of illin'?
Yeah, a little bit of illin'. And like we had a bit of like a fraternity house style situation, right? It was pretty open door. Anyone walked in, he was like, hey, what's up, man? Come on in, have a beer, whatever. No one cared. And at this point, we're all sitting there chilling, about to go out for the night. And the door just gets like, you just slammed open, just like, bam. And you're like, what in the world? And you just see this guy just like dart through the hall that goes straight through the house and then straight out the back door. And I'm like, well, that was interesting.
Got to get to class.
Oh, yeah. At 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. And I was like, that's very odd. And then about 5 seconds later, you just see like 3 cops, full gear, head to toe, sprinting after this dude, out of shape, struggling, breathing hard, no acknowledgement whatsoever, straight through the house, chasing the guy. And we all just kind of sat there after, just looking at each other like, was there a police chase through our front living room just a second ago? I think there was. And then never again were we told by anyone, and the police never showed back up, said anything. Nothing, just was acknowledged that was a normal thing in college.
You could have been on cops.
I might have been on a body cam somewhere. I'm not even really sure.
Well, that's not something that happens every day, but the next news story that I have is a good one because it really got under my skin a little bit, and I think it's the tone that it was delivered. Now, sometimes people upload stuff to TikTok thinking they're in the right, and It turns out that they're not. So this woman got blasted for ditching her date after he didn't order extra cheese on his burger.
On a burger. Okay.
On a burger.
Continue.
So they met up. They went on the date. She said it went well. Like, he's a good dude. It seemed nice. They went to a restaurant to have dinner and he ordered a burger. So it's all good up until this point. And then this is where things change.
Do you want some cheese on your burger? And he asked, is this going to be extra? And she says, yes, it's $3 extra. And he said, okay, then never mind. I'm like, what the actual fuck? And he's like, oh my God, you have to pay extra for everything these days. And I'm like, yeah, it's New York City.
Yeah, it's New York City.
City. I went to NYU.
Okay, so he is a bit cheap. So, like, you either want cheese or you don't.
$3 USD, that might be like 6 AUD by the way. Just throwing it out there.
And what burger doesn't just have cheese on it?
That's absurd.
It could be a principle play. Like, you could be like, hey, I do want cheese and I don't care how much it costs. But the principle of the burger doesn't come with cheese. I would have almost walked out at that point and been like, I'm not, what, do I have to pay extra for the bun and the lettuce and the tomato?
But if you want a cheese, you just say, I want a cheeseburger, don't you?
I just assumed that what burger doesn't have cheese on it? It annoyed the shit out of me to that point, but she's judging him already, so he's sweating.
I compare this to like avocado at the moment. Avocado might be like $5 extra. And I go, $5 for that little taste of avocado? Probably not worth it. And I will do what he did and say, I'm okay. Thank you. Move on.
Cheap prick. If you want avocado, get avocado. But I think avocado is an extra. Avocado is a traditional extra.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Whereas like
guac.
Yeah. So there are extras. I think jalapenos, that's an extra.
Yep.
Lettuce, not an extra.
Yeah, okay.
You expect lettuce. Anyway, we're getting far off the topic here. So he's a bit cheap, but does that justify what she does next?
I got up and I was like, I'm going to the restroom for a second. And I took my purse and I went to the waitress and I was like, hey, I just want to pay the bill. And I just paid the bill and walked out of the restaurant. So I texted him, the check is taken care of. You should have gotten the cheese. And I blocked him.
What?
So
she paid for the bill. Hey, that guy would have been going, well, cool, free dinner. Girl was terrible anyway.
So yeah, there's so much to it. So she just lied anyway. Was like, got her purse and said, I'm going to the bathroom, went up, paid the bill and just left. Like just left him there. Sent him a text, said, you should have got the cheese, which you can't. Yeah. Anyway, and then she blocked him. And the way that she says, and then I blocked him.
Pretentious little chick that paid for it with dad's black eye max. Yep, got it.
I can get it from both sides that it's like there's got to be a line where someone's so cheap that you're like, this isn't going to work going ahead. If they're like everything's going to come down to money when we go like on a holiday or if we do anything, or like if you're well off and they're not, and it's like this weird like dynamic of
power
like
dynamic,
especially if the guy wants to pay but then is like trying to cheap out on everything. He's like, I'll get dinner, and then he takes you to like Subway or something. But like her tone was like annoying, and the fact that she just got up and just said, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll be back, ditched him and sent the message and all that stuff. There's so many better ways to handle this. Like for starters, you'd be like, you'd just go through the whole thing and then leave and then send them a message going like, I don't think we're right for each other.
That's it. Then you document the whole thing on TikTok knowing you get, maybe she thought she wasn't going to get roasted, but you best believe you're going to get absolutely embarrassed whenever it comes to these things. Why? I mean, like there's ways to fix this. Order a cheeseburger. 1, 2, don't be a prick, lady. Just let it go. Don't need to pay for it. Don't need to pull the power move. Just let it be. And if he's a terrible person to hang out with, just tell him this isn't going to work and go. Don't need to like roast him for his like choice in food. That's just I don't know. And then put it all on TikTok so she can get comments and likes and everything else. I've
got one for you out of this. It just popped into my head. But like, have you ever been on a date and then during the date, something's happened that you can't unnotice?
Yes.
That you're just sitting there going like, it was a good date until that happened. And now you're just like, it's like a light switch. It's just like, it was going well. And then you're just like, okay, I can never find this person attractive ever.
Yeah. I'm really pedantic around like cleanliness. So whenever someone just has something in their teeth, but it's gone too far to say anything is the worst feeling.
That's on you.
I know it's on me, but sometimes it's like been in there for a while. You like, it's maybe like a first date and you're kind of like, I don't want to embarrass her. And you just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll just see through it. Maybe it'll pop out. Maybe it'll pop out, we'll move on with this thing. And it's like, you get it like 30 seconds after and you're like, oh, it's too far. We've gone too far.
Oh, and then when she goes up to get like a drink at the bar or something, the bartender's like, you got some shit in your teeth.
Oh, and then you're left out to dry. And you're like, well, that's awesome. Great start.
I've had one. I went on a date and it was going really well. And then this girl brought up the fact that she lived with her parents and I had no reaction. I didn't care. And it turned into a massive issue for her. She was like, oh, what? Like, is it a big problem that I live with my parents? And I was like, oh, not at all. And then she was like fully off me. I just bought 2 new drinks and she like pushed it away from her and just sat there and like shut down everything I said. I was like, oh, well, I guess this isn't working. Yeah. So I like finished up my drink because I was not going to drink my drink.
Yeah, pay for it.
And then I left. I was like, what? It's like, don't project your problems onto me.
It's okay to live with your family. Inflation's hitting hard, Braden.
I would have if I could have. I would have been rich.
All right, from that, we'll change into the dating segment. And there's not much going on here. And thank God, because we've given a lot to these dating segments. And if you want to listen to some of the embarrassing stories, go check out the other entertainment ones. There are plenty in there. But I've got something I want to bring up. Now, recently in the news, Kyle Sandilands, everyone knows him, Kyle and Jackie O, great people on the Kiss FM network up north.
Yeah.
He's going to spend $150,000 on flowers for his wedding. And then $100,000 on catering. And of that $100,000, $35,000 on caviar, fish eggs. And then $10,000 to $15,000 on napkins.
That's a real weird breakdown of costs. Like,
I find it, how? You're spending over $250,000.
I guess it's all relative, right?
And flowers.
If the rest of the wedding costs like $10 million, then $150,000 isn't that much.
Do you know what I could do with $250,000? Oh my gosh. I would throw throw a great wedding. It's probably what he's going to do.
This is the exact opposite problem of the dude with the cheese.
Yes.
But I reckon if I went to a wedding and I was like, oh, thank God, I just want to drink some beers and I want to have food, sat down and they bring me fish eggs, I'd be like, oh, come on. Can't it just be like a burger?
Just give me a
with cheese.
Kyle's also, don't worry, he's not spending too much because Guy Sebastian doing a favor, performing for free.
If you were Guy Sebastian and you saw the breakdown of costs that he's spending on flowers and caviar,
fuming.
I'd be going back and saying, hey, remember how I said I could do this for free?
yeah, about that. And not so much anymore. But the whole spinning of all this makes me think. And makes me think to dating in my own life and how much money I've spent on dates. I don't want to know the absurd amount I've probably spent on the dating pool out there, but I want to ask you this. What's the most you've ever spent on actually going out on a date? All expenses included.
I was thinking about this. There's a bit of like, context around it. I reckon when I was young, I remember spending $200 on a date, which like was that much money. And it was like a big 3-parter and like, it just went nowhere. It was the biggest like waste of time and money. And then recently-ish, I reckon I spent like $450 at like a wine bar, which like didn't even get you much. We got pretty buzzed. Like I reckon we had 3 bottles of wine.
3 between 2 of you and you're buzzed? I'd be off my tits.
I was probably putting that lightly, and then we went out to another joint and we started with cocktails. Got a little espresso martini.
Yeah,
start you off fresh.
Yep.
Another one when someone says espresso martini. Do you have like a little cringe moment?
Oh, cringe. And just really terrible memories coming back to my head.
Just like a real fast martini.
Oh, no. Just if you have an espresso martini, you're in for a big night. Like you're not going out for casual drinks and going, espresso martini, I want some caffeine to get through this next hour or 2.
Are you saying what I'm saying?
What's this?
Espresso martini.
Not a fan.
Are you saying espresso or espresso?
Espresso.
I don't know. I got to check I got to go back and check the tape on that one. See, now that doesn't, if I have a good time now, like that doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever dated anyone it's really a problem like that they're after me for my money. Like they can just look at my appearance and know that I don't have. No, I meant like look at my appearance and know that I don't have any money.
Know that you're poor. Help me, I'm poor.
If you looked at me and went, man, that guy must be filthy rich. You are a terrible judge of character. What about you?
I think
I can't imagine you've spent much at all.
Nah, I'm frugal as shit. I'm so bad. I think I've spent probably the most is about 500.
I reckon
on a date.
90% of your dates would be like picnics in the park that you could like
coffee walk,
just buy stuff
Best thing
from
about
Coles and just like roll it out, or put it when you know you get cheap stuff and you get a cake from Coles and then you take it out and you put it into a nice cake tin so it looks like a fancy cake.
I made this all on my own today.
You get all the cheap charcuterie board stuff and then you just take it out and put it on a nice board.
I've done that many a times. That's
Yeah,
a great idea, by the way, people, if you need to save some cash. No, about $500, but that's not including if I was dating someman seriously, we've gone on trips.
If you're doing a thing, it's
but
completely
first dates, 500 was steep. Lovely lady. Was a lovely lady. Obviously not still together by any means, but 500, really expensive dinner.
Would you want your 500 back now if you had a choice?
Yeah, 100%. Take that 500 back and put it towards new sounds for the pod. Cash money. Debate of the week. It's for you in here.
We're still
couple this week.
We're still lingering on this one topic, I feel.
Yeah, we are. Whereas we might not say there's a massive dating segment, but we have lingered through a few dating stories. I've got a question. What point do you stop using your ex-girlfriend's Netflix account?
Yeah, I think you have to be strategic about it unless you're trying to send some creepy message or something. But when you watch stuff, it pops up in there
oh, it's so weird.
Hey, do you want to keep watching this? Or you started watching this. Do you want to keep watching that? Or here's a show for you. All that stuff pops up in their thing. So you could send them messages through that if you want to get if you want to play some games or get all watch the best of Kama Sutra, all these weird things and have them pop up. But yeah, I don't know. It's just another one of those things. It's lingers for you. If you keep signing into their account, you keep thinking about them, you keep doing that stuff. So
what's the longest you've ever used an ex-girlfriend's account for?
No, not too long.
I'm 4 or 5 years. I was using one for 5 years, and it was I talked to my Google Home. I'll say play X, whatever it is on on Netflix, and it was just logged in for the longest time. And it wasn't until maybe a year ago, I think, that essentially all of a sudden it stopped working. I was like, oh, must have finally changed the family password.
It's either that or it's even better. So that moment happens and you get a little moment of self-reflection and stuff, and you're like, oh, I guess times have changed and we're moving on. But
5 years.
Otherwise, it's oh, struggling, are we? Can't pay the Netflix bill. Cancel the subscription, did you?
That's $10 in my pocket. 5 years times, 12 months.
You are frugal.
Very frugal. Very frugal. But I got another question for you. At what point do you change the password if it's your account?
Depends how it ended.
On the opposite side, right?
Yeah. Do you reckon it depends how it ended? If you're full spite, I'm changing this straight away.
I would change it right away, I think.
Or
I'll be no, everything she has, every password she knows of. If you had a really good relationship, she knows all your passwords so you can get into your accounts and you had full trust and everything else. Changing all the passwords right away.
Or update it and then say, hey, FYI, I just updated the Netflix password if you want to log back in, and make it
obvious.
No, something about her that's real bad.
And then she looks on there and all it is depressing movies and TV series you've been watching.
Yeah, sad.
Just the holiday over and over and over again.
Or the Notebook.
Notebook.
Jeez, what do you want? What do you want?
What do you want?
Classic. Cheese on my burger. All right, we got this one. Am I the asshole?
Yes.
I've loved...
Oh, sorry. Are you? Okay, yep. Sorry. Apologies.
I've loved getting into these. Now, this one gets me a bit fired up because every time I fly on a plane and you land and the seatbelt light hasn't gone off and people get up and start getting that, sit down. We're not going anywhere. The doors aren't open. And the carousel where your bags come out, that's going to take as long as it's going to take anyway. So you just, everyone sit there.
Clap whenever a plane lands.
Plane clappers. We survived. Yay. Yeah, so this one's in the similar realm, but little different.
Yeah.
Am I the asshole for getting up and lining up next to the exit on the airplane before people in front of me got up. Now, hold fire.
Okay.
I just got off a Southwest flight with no seat assignment. So there's just the Wild West out there. You just sit
Southwest
wherever you can
is
sit.
literally the Wild West.
And I was sat towards the very back of the plane. And when we landed, people in the very front got up, but the people in the middle section didn't get up. So the people in the middle were waiting for the people in the front.
Yeah, respect that.
This person only had their backpack, so they took the opportunity to walk from the back past the middle people and line up at the very front with the front people.
Efficiency.
Now, something extremely important to note is I got out of my seat after the seatbelt sign was off and the bridge was connected to the plane.
Important detail.
Super important.
Yes.
So I think, it starts to get a bit more fair game after that. So this person only had a backpack, so I didn't have to get stuff out of the overhead locker. They already had it.
Yeah.
Seatbelt sign off. Clear runway, walked right up to the front.
Elite.
So while they were waiting to exit the plane, the person sitting in the seat next to where they were lined up said under their breath, "Oh, so have the rules changed, have they?"
Whoa.
Little snide
Bit of
remark.
beef. There's a beef coming off the plane.
So he pretended not to hear them say that because he did had the headphones in.
Oh, classic move. Huge fan of that.
Just turned off. So there's no audio. So you can hear everything, but they think that you can't. So they say something pretty low and quiet. Anyway, then another person said, "Why don't you just go to the back and wait like everyone else?"
Ooh.
Just still stonewalled him and gave him nothing, which is real. I don't know if I could do that. I'd probably crumble. Well, I wouldn't be a dick in the first place, but didn't respond. And then another lady said, "I need to catch a connecting flight. I need to get out quick."
That's it.
Doesn't let that lady in front of him.
Oh! He committed to the fact that he couldn't hear people, so he has to ignore the lady that actually needs it.
So in terms of actual rules that he's broken, none. But it comes down to public etiquette and being in a society. So he's wanting to know, has he done anything wrong for what he has done? Is he the asshole?
I don't think he is. I think he's all right. I think this is a thing in America that people do. People just get up and they go. They don't care. Like, etiquette's not a thing there. They're the most important person in the world, and they're going to get off that plane whenever they get a chance to, and it doesn't matter. And I think it's okay because, one, didn't have any check-in luggage. Doesn't need to wait at the carousel. He's straight out the door. He's straight gone. Other people that have luggage, sit in your seat. You got nowhere to go. You're going to be sitting in the carousel. It doesn't matter, right? He's gone efficiently gone. I'm going straight to the front, right? Totally okay with that. And you know what? Some other people didn't take full advantage of the situation, didn't want to get up in time. Your fault. 2, great excuse. You ever want to do this? Just say you have a connecting flight. You can go from the back of the plane to the front of the plane. 5 seconds. You don't look like a jerk. Everyone feels like better because they're allowing you to cut the line. And everyone feels like they're, just doing this chivalrous thing. Really? You're just a prick that wants to get out of the fucking plane. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't think he's an asshole. I think he probably could have done it a bit better and just gone with the other person. And the other person that came up said, "I've got a connecting flight." Good on him. Probably thinking like me. Probably didn't have a connecting flight. They're probably going, "Look, this guy, he knows what he's doing. I'm following him, but I know how to get out of this in the right way. Therefore, I'm just going to say, hey, everyone, I'm late for a connecting. Can I go early?"
Where it falls down, if anything, is the fact that if everyone had the same mindset,
Yes.
then it's a shambles.
That's what Southwest is all about. Southwest doesn't have assigned seats. You show up and you have a time to get into the plane, and it is literally free reign.
The flights aren't great. It's a real low.
Oh, it's a low standard.
Experience.
It's a low standard in America. But one thing also I will say about American flights, you will find the most random animals in American flights now. There are like peacocks that are like therapy animals. They're pigs, like tiny teacup pigs. I once went on a flight to Los Angeles from Dallas. Holy smokes. I have never seen so many exotic animals. It was like Joe Exotic was actually on the damn plane. They were just anything and everything. Every person had an animal with them, and it was some kind of dog that they had a slip for to say, like, I need to bring it back. And I was like, you know what? You just don't want to pay the $100 to put it underneath. I get it. I'd probably do the same thing. But I don't want a screaming, barking dog next to me while I'm trying to take a 3-hour flight home after being on a 17-hour flight.
Give them an inch, they take a mile.
That's it. And this guy, he took the mile. This guy took the mile, saw a little bit of clearway, went straight to the front of the plane. And you know what? Mad respect.
No, he's an asshole.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Entertainment Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to vote Joe Exotic for President of the United States. But all honesty, tune in. Next week, we've got the sporting segment, and obviously, we've got the entertainment segment. Subscribe to us on all the channels for social media and on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all different places you listen to your podcast. But thanks so much for tuning in, and we will speak to you next week.
See ya.